In 1945, deep inside the New Mexico desert, humans built a structure unlike any before. Not to live in, but to control a star. They called it Trinity Site, where energy was born from sand, wind, and metal. Beneath the surface, engineers drilled into the earth, laying kilometers of cables, high-speed cameras, and radiation sensors, all linked to capture one impossible moment. The core temperature would reach 1,500,000 degrees Celsius, 100 times hotter than any furnace built by man. But before the blast, they had to build a machine capable of containing it. They weren't testing a bomb. They were testing Earth itself to see if it could survive human intelligence. It began with a map, drawn by hand on silver paper, marking the hardest bedrock of the Jornada del Muerto Desert, the journey of the dead man. Survey teams drilled every meter, measuring vibration, humidity, and seismic response. They needed soil stable enough to hold destruction. Each grain of sand, each layer of rock, was calculated for its shockwave behavior. Trucks brought steel, concrete, and coiled copper. Beneath their wheels, the first hidden infrastructure of the atomic age took shape. But to command the fire of a star, they needed shelter from its light, so they started digging down. Workers dug through rock under 45 degrees Celsius heat, pouring concrete walls nearly a meter thick, reinforced with steel bars like titanium bones. Inside, lead coating sealed radiation out. No windows, only air ducts and small periscopes. Each bunker stood 800 to 1,500 meters from ground zero, far enough to live, close enough to measure. Every door had a number, not a name. One wrong calculation, and the structure would collapse before the test began. But even a fortress is blind without vision, so they built the first nerve system of controlled fire. From the control bunker, thousands of copper lines spread out like veins, connecting gauges, cameras, pressure tubes, and light sensors. Every connection was soldered by hand. One error, and the experiment would be lost. They called it the nervous system of fire. Engineers sealed joints with beeswax to keep out dust. Above ground, metal posts rose like a forest of wires. This network would trigger the detonation within microseconds. When the final wire was set, they turned to the structure that would bear the weight of the sun. A tower built to vanish. A steel tower 30.5 meters high rose from the desert, its skeleton glistening under the sunday. On its summit hung the gadget, a plutonium sphere weighing over 4,500 kilograms. Cranes lifted it like a ritual offering to the sky. When light hit the metal, the entire structure glowed amber, a pillar of contained fire. Every bolt and joint was recorded. No one was allowed closer than 100 meters. The tower was never built to stand, only to disappear in less than 1,000th of a second. The 15th of July, 1945, 11 p.m. Wind rising, clouds thick. Inside the bunker, technicians check the countdown clock wired to the firing circuit. 2 kilometers of cable length switch to charge. Green light, ready, but weather delayed the signal. Lightning flashed over the desert. At 16 kilometers away, scientists watched through infrared lenses. Only the tick of a mechanical clock remained, each beat like the heartbeat of the planet. At 5 hours, 29 minutes, and 45 seconds a.m., they pressed the switch, and the world changed forever. The flash-lit mountains 20 kilometers away. Heat soared beyond 1,500,000 degrees Celsius, melting desert sand into glass. The shock wave rolled like a living wall of air. Hundreds of sensors triggered at once. Inside, meters spiked, then silence, power gone. Outside, the tower vanished, leaving a crater 300 meters wide and a thin layer of green glass called trinitite. Light turned amber, then gray, then gone. Only wind and ozone remained. In that instant, humanity recreated the sun and lost its innocence. But after the light, there was work to collect every trace before the dust itself began to glow. An hour later, they returned, wearing lead suits and charcoal masks. Each step cracked the glassy soil beneath their boots. They measured radiation, collected soil samples, and retrieved blackened cameras and melted sensors. Bent metal fragments were tagged and sealed in lead crates. At the center, a small sign read, "Ground Zero, reference point for all future tests." No one spoke of emotion, only data mattered. From those shards of glass, humanity rewrote the laws of energy and control. Within 7 years, new test sites rose across America, all based on this first design of bunkers, cables, and timed detonation. Engineers called it the process of contained fire. From Trinity's data came civil reactors, radiation detectors, and sensor networks. Every advance carried a trace of that desert in 1945. Those engineers never claimed to invent. They simply said, "We built a system to understand light." But that light never went out. It sank deeper into sand, memory, and technology still alive today. Today, decades later, the dust of Trinity still shimmers at night, not from radiation, but from memory. That desert proved humanity could turn thought into infrastructure and intellect into matter. Operation Manhattan was not only about weapons, it was the first machine to touch the limit of creation. Every wire, every grain of sand, every breath of wind still repeats one truth. Mankind dug for light and found itself.